let's get going then. Guys, lovely to sort of virtually meet you today. Those of you that don't know me, my name's Cam Stewart. I am, I guess my number one role is I lead the PGCE secondary maths program here at Cardiff Met. But on top of that, I do a lot of work around the communication, recruitment and retention of student teachers for all our ITE programs. So I mean, I'm hoping you can see the slides here, Nick. I'm working on the presumption that you can. I've got three screens going, so yeah, it's a little bit confusing. Okay, in terms of information, I've got to be honest. Just to start off, our Cardiff Partnership website is brilliant. It's got loads and loads of really good information. So as a little task on the back of this, if you are interested in studying PGCE with us, I would suggest you have a good look through those pages. And then, of course, if there are any sort of entry requirements questions that don't crop up naturally today, then please feel free to email our admissions team. Okay, so in terms of aims, I was trying to think about what you guys would want from this, really. And you're going to want to know the entry requirements. You're going to know what's expected of you in terms of getting on the programme, I would have thought. I'll tell you a little bit about the application and the interview process, because there's been quite a few changes actually this year, coming out the back end of COVID and sort of trying to work out what we liked, what we changed and what we want to bring back, etc. So lots and lots of changes. So it's really timely actually, because if you've had friends or family that have come through this process before, it will undoubtedly be different. So I'm giving you the most up-to-date information as of this afternoon. And then I'll just give you a little bit of a heads up on the PGCE primary programme, just in terms of its structure, its organisation. Everyone always wants to know about placements and all that kind of stuff. So I'll delve into that. I'll take, Nick, I don't know how long you want me to go from. I'll probably take about 20 minutes or so just to go through some of the details, and then we'll go to questions at the end if that's okay with them. Okay, so just to give you a quick overview of the Cardiff Partnership, just in case you are unsure about what you hear this term, the Cardiff Partnership. The Cardiff Partnership is basically the Cardiff Met, the university, and our partnership schools. Okay, and we run 3 programs that lead to QTS. You're going to have to get used to the acronyms. Apologies. QTS, Qualified Teacher Status. I mean, you're all here because you're interested in the PGCE primary, but just to give you a bit of context, really, that there are other programs going on around within the Cardiff Partnership. The application or applying for a place must be done via UCAS, and this has been a bit of a change. There used to be a dedicated application portal for teacher training. And last year, I think it was, we moved over to the undergraduate system, which has its pros, but also has a few cons, which I'll probably talk you through. But for now, it's through UCAS, and I've put a link there, and I'll obviously share this with you guys after. There are 2 pathways for each programme. So if you study the PGCE primary, Welsh medium and English medium, Welsh medium is a huge area of priority. So if you are able to teach the medium of Welsh, I would strongly recommend it, because the jobs are, prospects for jobs are really great. Obviously, you need to provide all the information. Applications can be submitted. So I believe I was talking to our head of admissions only earlier, and we're starting to interview for the PGCE. I think the first date is towards the start of November, basically a month away. And it's very, very popular. Very, very popular. Just to give you, I'll give you the heads up early doors. Okay, we have a Welsh Government cap, which last year, they haven't told us this year yet. Last year was 125 plus 20% leeway, which we tend to try and keep fairly clear to make sure we get our Welsh medium applicants in. So absolute maximum 150, and Welsh Government tell us that due to demographics and things changing, that's likely to reduce. So that's probably going to come down. So I'm just going to put my finger in the air and say, I don't know, 130 or whatever, absolute maximum PGCE primary going forward. So it is really competitive, and it tends to close sometime in the new year. So sort of, I'll say February, but please don't hold me to that. That's just, it'll depend on how many we have.
Can I just chip in there as well in terms of the time of the year, because this is where a lot of our year 3s, and they're probably encountering that now. It's about time management, because as well, you're doing your PGCE application, but you've also got the independent project. So for year 2, that's why we keep stressing in year 2, and maybe even in year 1, to get your application in order, especially a personal statement over the summer, because as soon as September hits, you want to get that application in as soon as possible, so you can get that interview in place. So sorry, just chipping in there.
No, it's so true. You know, when Christmas comes along and time just runs away with itself, and before you know it, we'll be saying that it's full, and we'll be interviewing for a reserve list. You know, we do interview for a reserve list once it's full. The reality is that not many people drop out, so we certainly don't end up going very far down that reserve list. Okay, so I think the message is to get yourself sorted nice and early, really, on that. In terms of GCSE requirements, this has been the bane of my life over the last couple of months, really. Welsh Government sort of doing their usual thing. But I can tell you the most up-to-date information. So for this year's entry, it is going to be a grade B. Okay, there has been a lot of talk about whether Welsh Government will reduce to a C. I'm hopeful that it'll happen for next year's intake, not this year's. So the B grade stands. Okay. Because of the competitiveness of PGCE primary, we are only offering equivalency. Again, this is a big change now. If you've had friends that have come through this, we're only offering equivalency to Welsh medium PGCE primary applicants. So if you are an English medium applicant, and there's a caveat to this, which I'll come to in a second, external to Cardiff Met, you will only be able to access it by a Welsh medium route. However, we've had confirmation from our Deputy Dean over the last day or so that current Cardiff Met students, aka yourself, can access our equivalency system for the English medium and the Welsh medium pathway, which is a real benefit. Okay, so again, just a quick change on that. There used to be 3 attempts. It's now 2 attempts, so called first and final. Which you are more than, there's support sessions, bucket loads of support. Ultimately, though, calling it straight as it is, if you rely on those support sessions alone, you probably won't find it enough. You are gonna need to do some independent study, whether that be get a tutor or whatever, to be successful. Okay, and you can only access them if you are a grade below. So let's just play a hypothetical situation out. You need a B in your maths, but you've got a D. You won't be able to access our internal equivalency examinations. You are more than welcome to go and get them externally. There's equivalencytesting.com. I don't know how much they charge. Ours are free, but it's only accessible from the grade below. The reason for that is not because we're mean, is because with the limited resource and time we've got, getting a bump in grade of 1 grade is in reality all that those support sessions can do. Anything more than that would need further input outside of our control. And of course, sorry,
I could just say as well there, Cam, as well, local colleges. So I know a lot of people are studying in Colour the Cymoedd, Gwent College, worth just checking with your local college. They offer that as well as that equivalency testing. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, thanks, Nick. Good point. And again, just something to be considered if you've heard things in the past. In the COVID years, we had a pretty tricky situation where we had pupils who started the program that didn't have equivalency. So we were doing equivalency in program, and thankfully for everyone concerned, because that was awful for everyone really, that's now gone. So this has to be in place prior to the start of the program. Okay, moving on. Initial degree, so at least a 2-2, basically is what is being asked. Nudging on. And in terms of recent experience, this literally was being discussed today, because we had this weird COVID time where it was very hard to get into schools, so we had to amend our entry requirements, because how could we ask for 10 days in a school when schools weren't having visitors, for example. So, but thankfully, we're back to some level of normality now. The only slight tweak on it used to be pre-COVID that 10 days experience in a primary school was essential. We've amended that slightly, actually. So 10 days is still preferable, for sure, because we want you guys to make sure that this is the right gig for you, because as amazing as teaching it is, it clearly isn't the easiest. So we're going to say that experience, but a minimum of 5. Okay, now obviously you guys might be getting that through your program already. I'm not entirely sure of the makeup, but Nick, was that, or Sean, is that something that they would get experience of through the program themselves?
Yeah, definitely. On the placement, and obviously we encourage them on the days they're not on timetable too, as well. Isn't that right, Sean?
Yeah. Lots of them work through the agencies, don't they? So plenty of options, opportunities.
That won't be a problem though, which would be great. And you use that. Talk about it. Tell us. Tell us what you've learned. Tell us what your current thoughts are. You guys are in a fantastic position to talk about curriculum reform, all of that kind of stuff, which you would expect to come up in an interview. Okay, I'm gonna keep nudging on because I'm conscious of time, but I'm assuming that this is all the kind of key information that you guys will be interested in. Okay, in terms of your personal statement, I won't go into loads. I'm sure Nick and Shannon have done loads on this, but you are going to need to talk about your breadth of knowledge. You're going to talk about your personal experiences, any extracurricular stuff that maybe you could bring to the table, which is, primary schools are always looking for people who can play piano or go and take the footy team or whatever, so talk about that. And you will be judged on your written English. Of course you will, right? You're going to be a teacher. You're going to be writing reports that are going to go to parents. So clearly you need to be able to write. So take a bit of care in that, I suppose, would be my advice. Now, here's the big changes, I guess. The interviews are going to be online for PGCE primary, okay, which is the same actually as it's been sort of during COVID times, but different to pre-COVID. It lasts for about 40 minutes, give or take. So, book out at least an hour to get yourself sorted. And of course, there'll be discussions around your experiences and why you want to be a teacher. You would expect that, yeah. But there are going to be 2 key questions that you guys will know about in advance. They'll be sent to you via admissions, but I'm giving you an early heads up now. The first one is to have a maximum 10 minutes discussion around the work of Hattie. Okay, in the interview information sheet will give you links, to some work. So a little bit of pre-reading, not much, right? Just so you can have a sensible conversation. Just to add that kind of academic rigor. We are working at master's level. We would expect you to be able to have an opinion on a piece of research, for example, and how it might impact in the classroom. And then the second key question will be around the attributes that make an effective teacher. So we give you a list of attributes. The beauty is, of course, there's no right or wrong here. You could argue, put a case forward of a certain attribute being higher than I would put it, and that's absolutely fine. We just want to know a little bit about, what you feel an effective teacher looks at. So those are the 2 kind of pre-interview tasks. We're going to call them key questions that you guys might come up against. Now, this is be troublesome from my perspective to get right, because clearly we have to hit our accreditation criteria. When COVID came along, it just put a steamroller through everything, and the skills testing that we used to do prior got taken off. So again, mate from last year won't have done this. You guys are going to be doing this. There is a literacy task. Okay, it's not arduous. It's a couple of 100 words on a bit of, you get given a bit of writing, a stimulus. You have to read, and then you have to synthesize. You have to kind of form an opinion, and I think it's literally 200 words. I think, don't quote me on that, but about 200 words. And then you would submit that to the tutor who's interviewing you. So say it was going to be me. You would hear from me in advance, because I would send you the invite. You would then make sure that I have sight of your literacy task ahead of time. We've said by 9 o'clock on the day of the interview, and that's just to make sure that everything's in order. In terms of numeracy, made a call on this one. I argue that if you got a B grade in maths, that getting a B grade is not something you just rock up to and get. That's tough to get. You're going to need to be at a certain level to do that. So we're going to take that as meeting the sort of numeracy part of the entry requirements. However, if you feel that it's an area of development for you, then there's something fabulous called the National Numeracy Challenge. It's free. It's a fantastic diagnostic resource. You complete your kind of confidence levels in certain areas, and it generates some support for you on the back of it. Okay, so that's an optional component. The literacy task is compulsory. Yeah. Okay, pushing on to the program content then. So we have 2 clinical practices, 2 CPs, basically school placements, called them CP1 and CP2. The placement team do their very, very best to take into consideration where you live, whether you drive, or kids, or all of the stuff you'd expect. However, there is an expectation that you will have to travel. You know, it won't necessarily be the school down the road from you, but we'll do our very, very best, I can assure you, to make it as convenient and as and easy for you as possible. There are 15 days that are led in a school, and I think that's really great actually, because when I did my PGCE, there was quite a sort of disparate nature between university and school. It was like they said, we said, and that's gone. So school lead part of the kind of university training now. We call them school-led training days, SLT days. You get an abundance of support from mentors, senior mentors, tutors. You'll never be far away from somebody who can give you a helping hand. And this here, although way too small for you to see any detail, you don't need to see the detail. You just need to get a picture on the colours. If you imagine the salmony pink, which is about as nuanced as my colour definition goes, the kind of salmony pink is the university-based days. So if you can see right at the top, we've got 4 weeks of induction. So we've just finished this. This is the Monday. That first blue is today for this year. We've just finished induction. Yeah. Blue days are school days. So as you can see, 2/3 of this program, you're out in school. And that's where you'd expect, isn't it? That's where you're going to learn your craft. I could talk to you all day, but you're going to learn to be a teacher in school. So blue is school, green is the school-led training days. So they are not teaching days, they're training days, but in a school. Yeah, so you can see those green days are kind of peppered throughout. Anything black, anything white, that's when you get to a break, which is the first dates to go in my diary, I can show you. So that's the kind of overall structure. You can see these Fridays happen regularly, which are brilliant actually. Everyone loves those Fridays. They're the day to kind of come home, and if you ever wonder why campus is so chock on a Friday, it's because there's 500 PGCE students come running through the door and trying to get a coffee ahead of you. I'll move on from that quickly. I mean, I've said this. 2/3 of the program is in school. So it's basically 2 modules in the whole thing. You've got university provision, which you'll form some assignments as well. I'll talk about that next. And then you've got your school placements, okay, CP1 and CP2. I can see Gareth, I've got a hand up. Gareth, I'm almost finished in terms of giving sort of info, so I'll come to you first, I promise, when we answer some questions. The assignments, you get 2 of them, okay? One kind of straddles CP1. It's kind of like now until January, if you want to place it in this year's structure. And then one that straddles CP2, so sort of February to kind of May time, okay? The first one is a clinically annotated bibliography, a CAB, which is 6,000 words or equivalent, because there's a kind of visual component to it as well. And then the assignment to 6,000 words again is a portfolio. That's a nice one, that. Get to show off all your good stuff and link it all together. So that's your assignments. You will know about professional standards. I won't go into too much detail on them, but that's how you are assessed. You are going to need to be capable in all professional standards at the end of the PGCE program. So, if you just have a little look at them. And I've lost track of time, but there we go, bang on, 6:20. I think.
Cam, before you get into any question, and I'll forget, we have got a call. We've got Claire from the Career Service, who's been amazing for our students for a number of years, her and her team. So again, hi Claire, you're right.
Yeah, I was going to put my hand up because I was going to say a few things, but yeah, I'll let you crack on.
But just for all of you that don't know, obviously a number of our year ones won't know, this is Claire. So Claire and Mel can definitely help you with all things PGCE. So even from interview prep to sorting out your CV, personal statements and things. But I can see all the hands are going up. So maybe if we go to questions first to Cam and then come back to you, Claire. I think Gareth was the keynote. Should we go to Gareth first?
Yeah, Gareth was definitely in first, wasn't he?
Hiya. I was just wondering, with the placements, for the second placement, could I do it in the school that I have links with already?
Probably not. Only because we try and avoid that if it's all possible, because one of the placement team who coordinate it, will ask you, as I said, where you live, etc. And one of the questions will be, do you have links to any schools? Does your mum work in a certain school or whatever? And as a general rule, we would tend to avoid that, just to give you a clean slate. A school where there's no preconceptions of you, good or bad, and you can just go in and and really hit the ground running. So yeah, we tend to avoid that overall.
But could it be possible though?
It could be, but it's unlikely.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay,
I'm going to go on for any other questions. Okay.
All right, thanks, Gareth.
Yeah.
This is really good on the new teams. It tells you in order who put their hands up. So Nabila.
Hi. I'm in first year primary ed, and I was just wondering, do you think in like 3 years they'll change the requirements to a grade C for maths, or do you reckon it'll still be B?
I haven't got my crystal ball. However, if you wanted me to make a guess, I would say all the noises I'm hearing coming out of Welsh Government suggest that there will be a change to a C grade in the future.
Okay, because I'm resitting maths GCSE right now, and I was just thinking, because I can't balance that and uni at the same time, and like it is quite expensive, so I was thinking, shall I just drop it and just hope that it changes to grade C?
I couldn't give you that advice, because it would be based upon guesswork. All I can say currently, it is a B. So it would be safer to work towards that, really.
Okay, so I should just continue doing maths then.
And I would just say to that, Nabila, that all our students that have gone through in college, it just sets up their maths knowledge. So when they start, they teach it and they've hit the ground running. Everyone that's going to start teaching, you're going to have to revise your knowledge anyway. So personally, I think it'd be a good idea to carry on with that if you're familiar to start with it.
I totally agree, Nick. We're not. It's not just a B grade because it's somebody's decided they want to be particularly mean. It's a B grade because you are going to teach this stuff, and and that's the set standard that would be expected. So yeah, I do agree with that, definitely.
If you don't mind,
thank you.
I've just done my GCSE in maths. I did it in the second year. It's definitely achievable. It's manageable in terms of work. If you've got the opportunity to do it, expense wise, if you're doing it through college, it should only have cost you about £30 for the admin fee. You shouldn't be paying for the full course because you're a student.
Thanks, Shell. That's really interesting to hear, kind of first-hand experience of someone going through it. And I think you'll find often when you go back to these things, in a different setting outside of school, that you'll probably approach it slightly differently, and it is very, very achievable, as Shell said. So good question. Okay, next on my list is Megan.
I have a 5 in maths because I did my GCSE in England. Would I need to do the equivalency test?
That again, what a topical question. Had this conversation yesterday. We used to say that a grade B was because obviously England and Wales are diverse, used to be equivalent to a 5, and a C would have been a 4. However, with the DFE's realignment of stuff continuously, we have got a colleague that's just joined the team from the English system, and we are quickly realizing actually that a grade B is far closer to a 6, and a C far closer to a 5. So that is very much in discussion at the moment, with our admissions team, because they're the experts on this. But yeah, we'll get back to you on as soon as that's decided. But I think it's probably going to go to a B6, C5 would be my guess. That answer your question, Meg? I know it doesn't give you the definitive answer you would like, but these things are constantly moving, of course, because of the difference in system.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
Okay. Shall.
How soon do you start inviting for interview?
The first interview is 7th of November, so soon. The team are putting their dates in the diary now over the year. I say they do fill up quickly, but yeah, very, very soon.
Okay, so do you hear back pretty soon, like after you've submitted your UCAS application?
I don't know any exact timeframes, to be honest, because admissions deal with that. They collect them all and then they allocate days to the tutors to interview. So I don't quite know, if I'm being dead honest, how that actually works, because that's not something I get involved in. But I assume that it would be as quick as humanly possible to get them through the system. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Muniwa, is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah. For the personal statement, can I reuse the one that I used to apply to the uni, but then change it and make it more current, or should I just start from the beginning?
Your call. I would personally, I've often thought that when applying for jobs. I know what I'll do. I'll go and use my old one, and I start reading, and I think this just isn't relevant anymore. I've moved on. I've become a different person since doing this. So, I mean, I would certainly use it for inspiration, particularly some of the basic information, but I would really consider redrafting it based on the experience that you've had over your undergraduate degree.
I'm sure Claire's going to probably jump in here as well, but having seen a lot of them, don't forget to sell yourself, guys. Definitely an interview, but also your personal statement. I was chatting to my personal tutor group in the week. This is your opportunity to sell yourself. They're going to have so many applications through. They'll all probably be the same. So think about, on the course, you guys have had so many different valuable experiences that other people, maybe they did history or science, wouldn't have had. So just my plea to you guys, just sell yourself. You need to sell yourself, because that place isn't guaranteed. And Claire, I can see you're shaking your head and stuff. Anything you wanted to add on the personal statement?
Yeah, I just think generally, I mean, I think Mary's is on the call, but I met with the level 4s today, and I think some of you were on this call actually, and the number of questions that were coming out of that session just to do with the equivalency exams and the GCSE maths and English, and that's level 4, and that's what I was saying to them, is just get started now. Just do it, because it's going to get more and more hectic over the next few years. But certainly when it comes to personal statements, we have a employability officer, Mel, and Nick knows her really well. She's worked with us for, I think, 18 years in total. And there's nothing she doesn't know about sort of PGCE and postgraduate applications. So if you do have a personal statement and you want to go through it with Mel, you can book an appointment on MetHub, and just drop me an email or drop Mel an email, and we can send you the link. But yeah, it really is about adding those additional skills, those skills that you're going to be assessed on when it comes to doing your PGCE, leadership, communication, collaboration. They're the things that you want to also highlight in a personal statement, not just what you've done during university. But yeah, and we're there to help you and support you through that.
Brilliant, thanks, Claire. Meg, I'm not sure if that's a sort of hand from the past. Maybe you're top of my list. If it is, stick it down, or if not, keep it there and I'll come back to you. Nabila.
I have 2 questions, if that's okay.
Yeah,
I was wondering, is the equivalent test easier to do than resetting maths? Because I got a grade C.
Okay, I will give you the official line and then I'll give you my personal opinion. The official line is that they are equivalent, in that they match. My personal opinion is the equivalency is a little bit more straightforward, because we cut the specification down considerably. Instead of you looking at online and seeing the maths specification, for example, as being this ginormous list of things, we are far more specific on the things that we cover, so that the quality, the standard's still there, but I think the equivalency is a good route.
Okay. Because you said that, I think, should I just resit maths in college right now? Because I'm still doing it like every Thursdays, and then if I do fail, should I just end up doing the equivalent test at the end or something?
Yeah, you could do. I mean, I personally, I would I'd prefer the route of just getting it done as soon as possible, so I know it's there, and we go back to the conversation on it is obviously upskilling you at the same time as well. So I think that's definitely the first port of call, but you've got the equivalency then maybe as a backup if needed.
Yeah. Thank you for that. I was wondering, because in Bristol you don't need a grade B in maths. So is it possible if I did my PGCE there and then teach in Wales?
Yeah, you can do that. I think that's part of the reason why Welsh government are considering coming down back to the sea, because there is that difference. There's also a difference in funding at secondary, but that's not a conversation to be here. But if you're a maths teacher, for example, at secondary, there is a difference if you live close to that border. But yeah, absolutely, that is something you could do. But I would always recommend coming to Cardiff Met because we're great.
Thank you so much.
Nabila, you're in my personal tutor group. If you want to have a chat about that, and the same for everyone, that's what personal tutors are for. If you want to have those conversations, contact your personal tutor. They're really important, and they'll be writing your academic references. So don't forget, that's what we keep on saying. You need that relationship with your tutors. They're going to be writing your reference. So yeah, if you want to book in, Nabila, get in touch, drop me an email.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thanks both. Lowry.
I just had a question with regards to the GCSE grades.
Yeah.
What does the other language mean? Is it like Welsh in grade C, or is that just like?
Let's have a little look. So if you are going through, just trying to find the slide where I said that. I'll tell you what, it probably what's best. All of this is outlined on the Cardiff Partnership website, so to have a little look at that. But if obviously you're going through a Welsh medium pathway, that English medium would be the Welsh medium equivalent in literature or language. Is basically what I'm just rereading that sentence. Actually, it is fairly vague, so it's a good question.
It does say on the website here, Welsh language.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Okay, good question. Josh.
Oh yeah, so I just got a question. I've been working in a school now as a one-to-one for like 5 months in total. When you ask for the 10 days relevant experience, is that still relevant as being a one-to-one, or do you just want generic LSA?
No, that's relevant. Yeah, that's relevant. You work in a school, So yeah, you're gaining an experience of what being a primary school teacher's like. So I personally I would say that's really good experience.
Oh, amazing. Thank you. Just to clarify, that's all.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Thank you.
Thanks, Josh. Lauren.
I just got a question about the science grade. Is it an overall grade of a C from the 3 sciences, or is it just one grade C from like one of the sciences?
Oh, you're asking me a hard question now, aren't you? So that is I got to be honest, I would need to refer you to actually Kerry. So Kerry Pugh, just you might want to make a note of this. I'm not ducking out of this, but I don't want to give you the wrong answer, particularly when I'm being recorded. So Kerry Pugh is our science tutor who was responsible for the science equivalency. It might be worth dropping him an email. But my understanding is that it's one of them. But
it is
again,
it is one of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, you might want to double check, but I understand it's one of them as long as you've got a C in one of those sciences.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Fab. I can see Nabila, Lowry, and Lauren have got their hand up. But I'm wondering if they are old hands that have not been.
We've also
taken
got
down.
sorry, Cam, we got some on the chat as well there. Erin's asking, how many references do you need for UCAS application? Do you know?
2 come through to us. We ask. I'm only going what I see now. That come through. We get an academic one, and then often if you can get a reference from somewhere in a school where you've been, that's the kind of dream set of references, I believe.
For our year 3s, we're doing some now. Again, that's personal tutors. That relationship's really, really important. But yeah, it's usually an academic reference, and then a lot of them have used a placement in year 2. They built that relationship with the head. That's what a lot of my year 3s. Sean, I don't know if you've had the same.
Oops. Sorry, I'm having.
Sean, you're on mute, but I know you've had some sound problems today.
Sorry, it keeps going back and forth as when I press it. Anyway, that you don't need to know that. especially because we're being recorded. Yeah, I would agree. So that relationship with your personal tutor is really important, because one of the things about, over the course of the 3 years, when we write that reference, the more personal it can be, the more authentic it is in terms, because we know, the experience that you've had because you've talked about it during your personal tutor meetings, and so so that's really important. But yes, generally one from your personal tutor, and then one kind of experience-based one would be ideal.
Just looking at that question.
The UCAS only allows us to put in one reference.
That'll probably be something to check with admissions. To be honest, that's something I'm not. I normally see 2, but if it's changed to 1, then yeah, maybe check with ask admissions just if there's been any alterations to that. But I just want to pick up on something that Sans was asked about. When can the test be done? That's a really good question. I didn't talk about that, and we have got some draft dates for this, but I'll just give you a quick heads up. These equivalency sittings will start in February. Okay, so I'm just looking at the document now. It's in draft. Otherwise, I would quite happily dump these in the chat. But just in case there are any changes, and any of you take a screenshot and hold me to it. We've got a date in February, a date in March, date in April, date in May, date in June, date in July, and then a date in August, and a date at the very start of September. I mean, that is last chance saloon, like the start of September, but it happens. So those are your opportunities to sit your 2 sittings if needed, 1 hopefully. There will be support sessions before alternating dates. So if I mean, say February, for example, you could sit maths and English if you wanted to, but before that February date, there would be an English support session. Before the March date, there'd be a maths support session. Before the April date, there'd be an English support session. Before the May date, it kind of rotates with the support for every other sitting. But yeah, starting in February, running all the way until the programme starts, basically.
Cameron, can I just ask a quick question? I'm going to have to leave, unfortunately, because I've got another commitment. But just quickly, I've got on Meta, we've got 2 sessions, webinars next week on teaching and routes into teaching and PGCE applications. Lunch hours on Wednesday and Friday next week. So if I could have the slides from today, I'll just make sure it's up to date and include some of the information that you're sharing today.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll send through to yourself, Sean, and Nick, and then
all right. But thanks for tonight. And if anyone needs any support, you know where I am. Good luck, everybody. Sorry I have to leave. Okay.
Thanks, good night. Imogen, good question. This came up for the open day actually on Saturday, I think it was. I wanted to apply for PGCE course, but I'm thinking of deferring a year. No, in short, once you are in programme, you if life gets in the way, you can suspend your studies for a year. So let's just say you've been accepted, you're on the programme. Christmas, something happens, you could suspend and start a new year, but you can't apply and then defer for the next year. You have to wait and apply for next year. Good question though. Okay, seems like questions are drying up. Don't know, Nick or Sean, if there's anything that you think I've missed or I need to add in, really.
No, this has been really, really useful. Any other last questions, guys, you want to ask? If you want to put them in the chat or just stick your mics on. It's been a really useful session, and it is frustrating because it's capped by Welsh Government. It's not Cardiff Met doing this. A lot of these restrictions come from Welsh Government. Sorry, someone was about to
yeah, sorry, that was me. And I'm sorry if this has already been covered. There was one question at the start of the chat about when the maths equivalency test is.
Oh yeah, so that was that one that I just mentioned then, Sean, about the dates in February, March, April with the alternating support sessions. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Guys, lovely to meet you. What I would suggest you do, you need to direct any sort of further questions to the right people, ask admissions in terms of that kind of detail of the admissions process. I know that Lisa Fenn coordinates a lot of the stuff for primary as well, and obviously I'm able to help through Nick or through Sean as well.
Sorry, Jordan Harries. Had to be Jordan Harries. He just chipped in with a question. They're all coming now. If you're allowed only one question, only one reference, would it be better to include your personal tutor or school? Or would you put, what do you think, Cam? I mean, historically,
that's a tough hypothetical question. But if it is, I mean, personally, but I'm talking as me now rather than my role. Personally, potentially your personal tutor will know you better, but your school mentor will know what you're like in a school. I think I'd be half tempted by the school, but I don't know. Tough one. I'm not sure. Personal tutor knows you better. So I would say probably the best, but maybe might be a personal tutor. But I'm sitting on the fence here. It may be worth asking ask admission. So ask admissions@cardiffmet.ac.uk. Jordan, just on that, because that's something that's new for this year. Afsana, we did cover that. So I've recorded this session, so you could watch that back and get your answer there. I think just for time wise. Yeah, I can smell my tea. How long do we have to apply for PGCE? Cover that at the start. Applications are open and tend to be full by the start of the new year, so ASAP. Don't leave it too long. Applying soon, isn't it, Cam? Yeah, as soon as you can. You know, you guys are in a fortunate position because you've got the experience there. You know, it's not some applicants are thinking, right, I've got to get out to school next week or the week after to get the experience. That part of it's there, so I would get it in personally. I'm doing my PGCE in England, but I want to come back to us to teach. Can I do that? Yeah, I think that came up in the chat earlier as well. Okay, guys, I think unless Nick or Sean tell me otherwise, I think it's a good time to kind of pull it to a close. Lovely to see you all. Hopefully see you on the PGCE programme next year, but do check out those Cardiff Partnership pages on the website. They will answer 95% of your questions. I'm fairly confident of that. Okay. Thanks, Cam. Thanks for your time. Thanks, everyone. Good to see you. I'll put this onto PES TV. Thanks a lot. Have a nice night. Good evening.